Can cigars help with depression? Let's find out. You're tuned in to Smokin' Revelry. Hello, everyone. As I said before, you are tuned into Smokin' Revelry, and Smokin' Revelry is sponsored by Pariah Cigars and Casa Cueva Cigars, from our casa to yours. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I first have to apologize. I know I haven't really been that consistent with putting videos out every single week, but there has been just one thing after another happening in my house, with my family, or something or the other is going on. It's not all this bad, crazy, dramatic stuff. There's some house things that have needed attention that were actually pretty urgent, and various other things going on. My kids, their extracurriculars, school and stuff like that. Pretty much being a grown-up father, husband, and all of that, and working a part-time job. Tricky to get in here into the studio, much less into the studio smoking a cigar, being able to kind of sit back and relax and talk to you guys and all of that fun stuff. And I have a lot of fun doing this, and getting back to this is definitely one of my more urgent priorities. But obviously I have to take care of my family, my home, and all the other stuff first. They are first priority, but I really want to make sure that I get back to doing this. So I'm back again. And I really appreciate all of you guys who are tuning in today. Now, if you have been subscribed to this channel or tuned in to any of my socials, or if you've known me for any length of time, you will know that I have touched on mental health at various points throughout my time, managing this channel and producing content. Mental health is something I take very, very seriously, simply because my mental health has been a little bit touch and go over the past few years. For those of you who aren't aware, I actually struggle with depression. I take medication for it. I've been in therapy before, which is something I need to get back to. I honestly can't stress enough how important therapy has been in my life. So it's something I very much want to reintroduce into my life, because medication can help, and different hobbies and outlets and things like that, such as this, can help, but you want to make sure you're tackling the problem head on, getting to the deeper, more root causes of why you're feeling what you're feeling. But I'm not necessarily going to talk about that in this video at length. I just wanted to touch on it because, again, mental health is extremely important. And unfortunately, I feel like depending on who you're talking to, depending on who you're interacting with, mental health tends to get a little bit undervalued and stigmatized, especially when it comes to depression, I believe. Depression and anxiety, because you hear a lot of people talking about it like, oh yeah, I have depression, or I battle anxiety. And I in no way want to take away from or demean people who say that, but I will say this, and I honestly hate saying this because it almost kind of takes away from people who do battle with depression, including myself. I know many more people are under a much heavier mental weight than I am when it comes to depression, but depression and anxiety have become trendy, which is a very weird thing to say. But when you look at certain things like on socials such as TikTok or Instagram or Twitter, anxiety and depression are are unfortunately becoming more hashtags than anything. And there are people jumping on and trying to, be armchair psychologists and using drugstore psychology to kind of diagnose and treat stuff and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, that can actually be very harmful and damaging. If you're struggling with mental health issues, you need to make sure that you are speaking to a professional, psychologist, psychiatrist, mental health professional, or counselor. They are the only ones who can properly diagnose and treat you. And there are people who are truly suffering out there. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't always have access to help, and they have to try and go through other means to get the help that they need. And, in addition to medical diagnosis and medical help, there are other things that you can do that help with depression. Exercise and healthy eating are two big ones that you can do. Obviously, they both coincide with each other. They both go together very well. If you're eating well and you're exercising, it can help alleviate depression because your body is feeling healthier and its processes are working more properly. Gut health is a huge thing, and if you're taking care of your gut, your body gets everything else that it needs, including the serotonin and dopamine that you get from exercising and all of that kind of stuff. So that helps. Having an outlet, having hobbies, having good and healthy relationships with your friends and family and your romantic partners, obviously those definitely contribute to good mental health. They help alleviate depression and anxiety. And then, of course, there's cigars. Now, I want to put out a disclaimer, okay? I am in no way qualified as a medical or mental health professional to tell you how to treat, manage, or alleviate depression or anxiety or any other mental health afflictions. I want to make that perfectly clear right now. The only thing that I am qualified to speak on are my experiences with depression. Without getting too crazy deep into anything, I have been battling depression over the past few years. It really kind of started to kick into high gear, I would say probably around 2018. I mean, really around the time I started doing cigar media, a little bit before that. But I was going through some stuff. There were things going on in my family. There were some losses we experienced, some very wonderful and very tragic things we experienced. You know, I've spoken about the loss of my nephew who passed away in 2018 in a car accident. Just days later, my youngest son was born. There was so much going on. We just bought our first house. I mean, all of that happened within weeks of each other. And so it was just this complete and total just craziness of good, bad, terrible, wonderful. And, you know, there were other things that I was trying to accomplish and do, and just life was good. Like it says in, you know, I think it was A Tale of Two Cities. It was the worst of times. It was the best of times. And even before that, there were some precursors that kind of showed that I was exhibiting signs of battling or struggling with depression. Times where I would just feel like I could barely manage in a given day, even doing some of the most basic tasks. And as time went on, it got progressively worse. I think the older that I've gotten and the, you know, different pressures that I apply to myself, the different pressures of life that happen, you know, me trying to build and establish a career path, doing this, making sure I'm taking care of my family, my relationships, all of that kind of stuff. It builds. And there are certain things from, you know, my past, you know, the losses and struggles and things like that, that kind of just culminated into what I believe there was a shift in, I guess you could say, my brain chemistry, or just, you know, whatever you want to call it. I started exhibiting serious signs of depression, having massive and terrible depressive episodes. Not constantly, not every day, and not even necessarily multiple times in a week or even a month. But there were times that I would get hit so hard with a depressive episode that I could not function. I remember probably pretty vividly the precursor to me realizing I needed to at least give medication a try. And if you're curious as to what I take Wellbutrin, otherwise known as bupropion, which is actually very effective for me. Obviously, I mean, I can recommend it, but you need to go through your own, you know, psychologist or whoever you go through to, you know, get the right kind of medication for you. But so far, Wellbutrin works for me very well. But prior to figuring out that I might need medication to help treat my depression, I remember I was out in my backyard and I was pulling weeds, or I was supposed to be pulling weeds. I couldn't even bring myself to do that. I was so sad and so down and so weak. I couldn't even pull up a single weed without feeling like I was going to have a breakdown or cry. So I knew I needed help. I was already in counseling, and I was referred to a psychologist through my counselor. I got medication, and once I figured out the right dose, it really began to help me manage my depression. Again, I want to focus in on that word manage, because managing depression takes multiple facets. Sometimes you need medication. Sometimes you don't need medication. Sometimes you just need to develop healthier habits in addition to going to counseling or therapy and making sure that you have proper and healthy outlets and things like that. hobbies, to keep your mind and body occupied in a healthy fashion. I want to say at the outset that none of these cure depression. If you have clinical depression, there's no actual cure for it, but it can be treated and managed. And that's where I'm at in my life. As a 40-year-old man who battles depression, I take medication. I'm developing healthier habits, eating better. I found out that I may have, it's all but confirmed that I have celiac disease, which sucks to a certain extent. I can't eat a lot of the foods that I used to eat. I have to go completely gluten-free because I've developed an autoimmune disorder that attacks my skin of all things. And, I feel like that might have actually contributed to how I was feeling for a good while, because I just felt like shit. I felt like shit, not realizing that my body was starting to reject something that I had consumed for most of my life. So I'm choosing to see it as a good thing, because I've actually lost a significant amount of weight, which definitely helps in managing depression. When you lose weight, you feel better about yourself, you feel more confident, and your overall health is improving, and that includes your mental health. But circling all the way back to cigars. I've said it a few times before recently. This channel is, I refer to it as cigar centric. Over time, I've tried to make sure that I talk about things that weren't just necessarily focused in completely on cigars. Cigars are part of the conversation, but not the whole conversation. And, I want to talk about real life stuff. But as it relates to cigars, or as cigars relates to real life, this definitely comes into play, especially considering that cigars were a very, very important thing for me going back to 2018, when I would start doing cigar social media, among other things. It was, cigars that really kind of helped me cope with certain things. They were a comfort. They were a joy. They were therapeutic in their own way. I've quoted Ron Perlman many, many times, the whole, some people meditate, I smoke cigars. Cigars can be a very meditative and therapeutic thing. It was in 2018 that I really began to discover or rediscover, however you want to put it, my love for cigars, a love which turned into a passion which turned into basically what you see in front of you. Not just me, but this entire setup. Me being able to sit in a space that I created to be able to smoke cigars, create content, relax, and be myself, kind of be alone with my thoughts, be able to kind of be introspective and relax, or just sit around and even waste my own time, because there's always a lot going on, and it's nice to have a place that I can kind of escape to. So, it's just multi-purpose and tenfold in terms of how things have happened. And it's remarkable that it all started with this, because of my love for cigars, and because of the fact that I've been able to do what I do and build the relationships with brands that I have, and the friendships and the networking and all that kind of stuff. That is what spurred the creation of this space, this studio, where I not only smoke cigars, but I also produce voiceover content. I owe a lot to cigars. And it's because of you guys, my audience, my supporters, and all of my friends who have been, with me, supporting me, and by my side, that I get to do this. And that definitely helps significantly in managing my depression, because it helps me feel a sense of joy, accomplishment, and fun and celebration. Hence why I changed the brand from Dad Smoking Cigars, which I'm a dad, very proud to be a dad. My dad is the one who got me into cigars, but I changed the brand name from that to Smokin' Revelry, as an all-encompassing sort of thing, where yes, obviously cigars, but revelry means fun, celebration, engaging in just good times, okay? And it's because of cigars. And when I'm not producing content and I just want to have a cigar, no pictures being taken, although I typically tend to take pictures because I still want to engage with you guys and stay relevant among all of you, but when I sit and smoke by myself, no agenda, no promotions, no plugs or anything like that, I find myself able to truly relax and be myself alone with myself, or with friends on the rare occasion that happens. It's rarer these days, but I'm trying to change that and spend more time with my cigar smoking friends, not just my dad, even though I loved smoking with my dad, being social and smoking cigars. But there is a sense of joy and relaxation that comes from cigars that, regardless of what your thoughts are, your opinions are, or what you have looked into regarding to how cigars can affect your health, the fact of the matter is that everyone that I know that smokes cigars on a regular basis and uses it as a tool of relaxation, celebration, and all of that, they are more content. They tend to be happier. They tend to be far more relaxed than the average person because they have something that is an aid in their relaxation, that is an aid in their joy. And it helps add to the various good things that they have in their life. Or if things just aren't going that well right now, cigars can be a very lovely and welcome distraction from the various problems in life. And as you sit and smoke one, you may find yourself looking at things a little differently. Smoking a cigar by yourself offers quiet, and during that quiet time, there can be some introspection, or there can just be the opportunity to clear your head of everything that has been running through it constantly in a given day. And I would never ever suggest or outright say that cigars can cure your depression or even treat depression, because they don't. But they can help manage depression. They can help you feel a sense of peace, a sense of calm, a sense of relaxation. And I'm not even talking about the nicotine you can find in cigars. I want to point out, as I have many times, cigars are all natural. Cigar manufacturers and brands, they get their tobacco from actual tobacco farms, not genetically modified tobacco, all natural organic tobacco. They grow the leaves, they take the leaves and they age them, they ferment them, they go through the entire process of what you find on the shelves at your brick and mortar cigar shops and lounges, and even the online stores that you buy your cigars from. There's a process that the cigars go through in order to become what I'm holding in my hand here, and hundreds of hands touch these before they get to the shelves, much less before they get to your humidor and in your hand to smoke. They're not chemically laden cancer sticks. These are an all-natural organic product. I acknowledge that there is some health risk that may come with smoking cigars, but they are minimal in comparison to cigarettes and vape and, chewing tobacco and all that kind of stuff that is just loaded with a bunch of additives, preservatives, chemicals, and all that nasty shit that you do not find in cigars. All this to say, you do not need to feel guilty smoking cigars, even though I know none of you do, and I certainly don't. But as I said before, cigars can be an aid in your relaxation, in your calm, and being able to just enjoy life. Like so many other things, yes, some people drink whiskey. Obviously, in excess, that can be bad. Some people, including myself on occasion, enjoy cannabis, weed, whether you smoke it or you consume it through edibles and things like that. That can help, but even that can be a problem if you consume too much. Can't necessarily get addicted to weed or cannabis, but it's not really helpful if you're high all the time. Same thing with drinking to excess. It's not helpful to be drunk, because either way, you cannot operate a moving vehicle. You can't really function normally. You're a little too zoned out. But cigars, on the other hand, no harmful effects in terms of your mental state or how you behave. You won't get high. You won't get intoxicated. You can just sit back and relax and enjoy. You can walk around enjoying one of these with no issue, provided you're in an open air area that actually allows smoking. But I've found, as you no doubt have found, that cigars can help significantly as an element of alleviating depression, even if it's only in the moment, if it's only for the duration of the cigar. It helps you calm down, it helps you relax, and it helps you achieve a sort of balance, I guess you could say, while you're sitting and relaxing and enjoying. because anytime that you are in a state of relaxation or enjoyment, it definitely can help alleviate moments and times of depression. And it can actually help you kind of move into that next part of your day with a little bit maybe better perspective, or just a little bit more chilled out, because you've had that time to yourself and now you're refreshed, you're a little bit recharged, and you can get on with your day. Or you can just end your day on that note and you can wake up tomorrow feeling a little bit better about starting a new day. So in conclusion, can cigars help with depression? Yeah, they can help. A little bit. They don't take it all away. They don't cure it. They don't even necessarily treat it. But it definitely helps, at least in my experience, and I know the experience of many of you watching. But regardless, if any of you are struggling with or battling depression, I'm going to leave some links and resources in the description below for you to look into. If you've been having a tough time, some things you can check out in order to help manage or even treat your depression. I'm going to make sure that I give you some really good and legit resources. So if you're curious, or if you want to look into those things, or you know somebody who you feel like might benefit from them, please check out the description. I've left some links down below. But that's it for this episode, guys. I hope that it was helpful. I'm not going to say educational, even though I hope that there was some education in it that kind of helped maybe change your perspective on some things, or illuminate some stuff that you maybe didn't know about depression, or what people go through who are battling depression. And I will end on this note. If you know somebody who's going through depression and you have no idea what it's like to battle depression, make no assumptions. Just know that they are battling something that is incredibly heavy and bigger than what any of us can truly comprehend. Because even though I battle depression on a fairly regular basis, the reality is I still have no idea what my fellow friends and family who battle the same thing are going through, because it could be possibly way worse than what I deal with. Even though what I deal with can be pretty heavy, I have no idea. So I try to make sure that I give as much understanding as possible. I don't diminish or demean what they're going through. And I really hope you don't do that either, because if you're going through depression, you can't just choose to be happy, because all of us who are fighting depression, we're working towards being happy. And it's a moment-to-moment thing sometimes. And we may experience happiness and joy here and there, but our depression tends to come back and remind us that it's still there. So it's a day-by-day, again, sometimes moment-to-moment process. So be kind to those you know who are suffering from depression. Don't make any assumptions, and don't try to throw any half-hearted platitudes or pious crap or suggestions on what they can do, especially if you know nothing about depression. Be understanding, be kind, and be open to hearing your friends who are going through that stuff, because it may open your eyes to stuff you had no idea about. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. If you haven't subscribed already, I hope that you will. Please give this video a like and drop a comment. I love interacting with you guys. I respond to every comment I get. And yeah, I hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy, keeping it smoky as always. And of course, I will see you guys next time.